Are credit card myths costing you money? Have you ever wondered if applying for too many credit cards is damaging your credit? Or even if carrying a balance is actually going to help your credit score? Join us on a journey to debunk these myths and actually unveil the truth. And make sure you stay until the end to uncover the shocking myth that 65% of people in a survey actually believe. Credit card myths have stopped many people from being able to experience the true benefits of points and miles. I am living proof that points and miles can take an average person like me from having no vacations to being able to take great vacations. And I want the same for you. Let's take a look at myth number 1. Applying for too many credit cards will damage your credit. This can be an important topic for us players in the points and miles games because we end up seeking multiple credit cards to be able to reach the points and miles to have our vacations. And let me tell you, there is little validity to that myth. If you are aimlessly applying for credit cards, it can definitely impact your credit score and actually potentially lessen chances with some of those conservative credit card issuers. I made this mistake when I was trying to build my credit score years ago. It seemed like I was applying for any credit card that was being offered at the time. Because of that period of mistakes, I began getting turned down for credit cards I wanted, and it represented a substantial setback for me in time and opportunities. I am speaking from experience when I say you have to create a plan and you have to work the plan. Don't make the mistakes I did. When we're looking at this topic, we need to understand the difference between soft inquiries and hard inquiries. While both inquiries will stay on your credit report for up to 2 years, each have a completely different impact on your credit score. Let me give you 2 examples of a soft inquiry. One example would be when you are receiving mail from credit card issuers that are saying that you're pre-approved for a credit card. That is a case where it would be a soft inquiry. The second example would be if you went on to Credit Karma, for example, and wanted to check your credit score. That's a soft inquiry. In both cases, you personally are not applying for credit. You basically are doing just a peek, or someone else did a peek at your credit score and your credit background. The second inquiry is called a hard inquiry. This is where you are actually applying for credit when you're getting a car loan or a credit card application or a mortgage. This is actually doing a look into your credit and is truly a hard inquiry. According to Experian, while hard inquiries will stay on your credit report for up to 2 years, the impact of that hard inquiry normally is less than a year and might only represent 5 points or less of a temporary impact on your credit score. So what does this information teach us? What it truly tells us is that if you follow the 4 steps that I've talked about previously of goal setting, understanding where you stand financially and credit-wise, and doing research and developing a plan, and lastly, executing the plan, that you can be successful. I truly believe what Benjamin Franklin said: if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. Planning is so essential in points and miles, and that's what will make this truly a myth. Let's look at myth number 2. Closing a credit card will improve your credit score. Wrong. In fact, in some cases, closing your credit card will hurt your credit score. When you close a credit card, there are 2 potential impacts to a FICO score. One being the length of your credit history, and number 2, your credit utilization. The first thing we'll look at is credit history. It represents 15% of the FICO credit score. So if the credit card you're closing is one of the earliest credit cards you had, it will reduce the amount of your credit history and therefore can impact the score. Let's say, for example, that you have 3 credit cards. One that is 15 years old, one that's 5 years old, one that's 4 years old. So if that would make up a total of 24 years divided by the 3 credit cards that you have, which would make your average age 8 years. Let's say that you close the oldest credit card of 15 years. Now you have a card history of 5 and 4 years for a total of 9 years. And divided by 2 is 4.5. So by closing your oldest card, you've gone from 8-year credit history average to 4.5. While the length of your credit history is 15% of the FICO score, it still is not really enough for you to not make changes if you need to. While the credit age should be considered, a good reason to potentially close a credit card is high fees with little benefit. For instance, years ago, I had a credit card that had a very low credit limit, and I was paying monthly fees on that. Never got the benefit out of it, and I ended up canceling that credit card. Even though it impacted my average credit age, basically losing money is by far much worse than the slight drop that you might have in your credit score for a temporary period of time. It is still only 15% of the overall FICO score. The second potential impact is in your credit utilization. Credit utilization represents 30% of your overall FICO credit score. When you close a credit card, you're losing that credit availability that is part of the credit utilization calculation. So if you're closing a credit card that has a high credit limit that you aren't really using, that could potentially have an impact. So let's take an example. Let's say you have 3 credit cards. The first one has a $1,000 credit limit with a $300 credit balance currently. Credit card number 2 has a $5,000 credit card limit with a $1,500 credit card balance. And credit card number 3 has a $10,000 credit limit with a $1,000 balance. So in this case, you would take the $2,800 worth of credit that you have used and divide it by the $16,000 of overall credit limit that you have to end up finding that you have a 17.5% credit utilization. So now let's say that you are closing your credit card that has the $10,000 credit limit. So in this case, you would have $1,800 as far as your credit balance divided by $6,000, which is the credit limit that you have on the remaining 2 credit cards. So in this example, your credit utilization has now gone from 17.5% to 30% with that change. While both of these potential impacts are ones that you should take into consideration, it still should not immediately stop you from closing a card if you find that it is best for you to do that. So now let's take a look at myth number 3. Having too many credit cards will ruin your credit score. So in this case, the myth could be true or it could be false. To me, in the real world with multiple credit cards, I think there's really 2 potential issues that really impact people. And I think the first one really is the temptation to spend money or credit that you really don't have as part of the plan for you to spend and pay it off immediately. The second issue could be the managing of the multiple due dates of these credit cards and not properly getting them paid on time. While both of these issues are possible, it really truly comes down to planning. If you're planning properly for those credit cards, you will know that you have the spend, your everyday spend, to spend on those cards and pay them off each month because it's part of your everyday spend. And with that planning, you're also handling how you're going to manage the due dates. And that's why having a budget is so important as well, so that you can track how you need to pay your bills. The actual truth is that with proper planning and proper handling of credit cards, multiple credit cards will actually improve your credit score. It has done that for me. You can benefit from in your credit utilization, which represents 30% of your FICO score, by having more credit limit, but you're still properly spending on it. You will actually reduce your credit utilization, which will help to improve that credit score. But more importantly, you have the opportunity to increase the number of on-time payments that you have. And being on time with your credit payments represents 35% of your FICO credit score. Before we get to myth number 4, if you find any of this information beneficial, please consider liking and subscribing to this channel. It doesn't cost you a dime, but it really means everything to me and this channel. And thank you in advance. So let's take a look at myth number 4. Checking your credit score will lower it. Completely untrue. We touched a little bit on this earlier when we talked about how a soft inquiry does not impact your credit score. And that is a perfect example of checking your credit score with Credit Karma, for example, that is a soft credit inquiry and does not impact your credit score. Now, I will say there was a time where it was difficult to keep up with your credit score in your credit report without you paying for it. Now, this is the easiest time that I can ever remember to be able to get that information at absolutely no cost to you. Experian, which is one of the 3 of the major credit bureaus, will actually provide you with a credit score and an updated credit report every 30 days on their website at absolutely no cost. I would also encourage you to take a look at your other credit reports, and you can do that on a free website annualcreditreport.com. Annualcreditreport.com is a trusted website and is the only one where to be able to get that free information that is guaranteed to you by federal law. And if you choose to do that, don't feel like you have to get all 3 credit reports from Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian all at the same time. You can space them out over that year so that you can truly periodically keep up with what your credit reports look like. By reviewing your credit report periodically, you'll be able to actually see potential errors that you were not even aware of. Remember, knowledge is power. Be informed. All right, we've reached myth number 5, and it is one that I was a bit surprised that so many people believe. Myth number 5. Carrying a balance on your credit card is good for your credit score. This is absolutely deception at its finest. In a 2022 Lending Tree survey, nearly 65% of people that responded believe that carrying a small balance on your credit card actually helped your credit score. That number of 65% actually jumps up to 79% for people in the Gen Z. Now, early on, I have to admit I was part of that 65%. I would keep a small credit balance on my credit cards because I thought it was helping my credit score. So once again, don't make the mistakes I've made. Money wasted based on not having enough knowledge. We always recommend paying your credit card bill in full each month. It is going to show that you are a responsible credit card user, and it is going to be beneficial to your credit score. By understanding these 5 credit card myths, you are going to be so far ahead of many others. Share your thoughts, experiences, and additional myths that you may have heard, and put them in the comment section below. Your contributions are going to help this online family immensely. Now that you know the truth about credit cards, if you want to know how we use credit card points and miles to improve our ability to take vacations, click on this video.